Travis Wayne Goodsell. It's the priesthood session where they had the token black man who is never an apostle. I challenge the prophets of the church right here, right now, to put in a token black man into the quorum of the 12. It can be a token. When he dies, that can be the end of it. You can never do it again if that's what you really want. But I challenge you, put a token black person in the 12 apostles. And I will leave you alone on racism for the rest of my dying days, if you will do that. You cannot present a token and claim that you're not, you can't do a token woman and claim you're not sexist. You can't do a token LGBTQ plus 1A or IA plus and claim that you're not a bigot. You can't give a token amount of money or donations and claim that it's charitable. But anyway, topic of this one, however, is Mormons do not believe me when I use the Book of Mormon, talk about the iron rod, that spiritual witness is not enough. You have to get to the tree of life and partake of the fruit. Mormons believe it's the fruit. But how then are you pressing forward on the iron rod if you've already had your spiritual witness? And they don't believe me when I went over Alma 32, starting in verse 28. Who will liken the word unto a seed. Mormons will not accept it. Moroni chapter 10, verse 4 and 5, trumpet. So let's try Joseph Smith. See if a fourth witness will convince Mormons that they're full of BS. The spiritual witness. Okay, there's the halftime song. I was surprised they ended earlier for the second session. Well, ended at 45 after. Of course, it was a long song and long prayer, but still. Alright, where are you, Joseph? Let's see. I was in my 15th year. Presbyterian faith. Okay, yep, verse 8. During this time of great excitement, my mind was called up to a serious reflection and great uneasiness. But though my feelings were deep and often poignant, yes, it's poignant, still I kept myself aloof from all these parties. Though I attended their several meetings as often as occasion would permit. In process of time, my mind became somewhat partial to the Methodist sect of my now wife and her family in Harmony, Pennsylvania, not Susquehanna River. And I felt somewhat desired to be united with them, but they learned that I was arrested for glass looking and was charged $2.68 for the misdemeanor. And they didn't want my kind in their organization, so they kicked me out and my wife and her parents, and we had to move to Susquehanna River. But so great were the confusion and strife among the different denominations, yes, if you're not going to watch my videos, that it was impossible for a person, young as I was, and so unacquainted with men and things, yeah, I'm unacquainted with men, I would like to be acquainted with women, to come to any certain conclusion who was right and who was wrong. Oh no, I don't know how to choose. Because it's spiritual witness he's looking for, isn't it? Right, Mormons? He's looking for a spiritual witness. My mind at times was greatly excited. The cry and tumult were so great and incessant. The Presbyterians were decided against the Baptists and the Methodists, and used all the powers of both reason and sophistry. So the Methodists had their whole town. There was no competition within the towns. Yes, Palmyra, after he claims this happened, but not in Harmony, which was settled by Methodists. And Baptists was what Sidney Rigdon was a part of, and the Presbyterians are the ones that went to for Alvin's burial when they told him that Alvin was going to burn in hell. Irene speaking, and he's all happy. Do I dare listen? No. Resist. Oh, no, we just need a spiritual witness. We don't need to magnify it. Right, Mormons? Never magnify, just spiritual witness, and that's all you need. He's lying. Spiritual witness. In the midst of the war of words and tumult of opinions, I often said to myself, what is to be done? Who of all these parties are right? Or are they all wrong together? If any one of them be right, which is it, and how shall I know it? Sound familiar? And so here we go. He was pondering. Now he's going to read. While I was laboring under the extreme difficulties caused by the contest of these parties of religionists, I was one day reading the Epistle of James, 1st chapter and 5th verse, which reads, If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Pay attention. He read, he pondered, hasn't prayed yet, but yet that's what this scripture is talking about. Listen very carefully to his words. In verse 12, never did any passage of scripture come with more power to the heart of man than this did at this time to mine. It seemed to enter with great force into every feeling of my heart. And he reflected on it again and again. That's your spiritual witness, Mormons. But the story's not done yet, is it? How many more witnesses do I need to give you before you will open up your shell and hold to the iron rod and seek to replicate the word? See, here he's replicating James chapter 1 verse 5, which is about prayer, to ask questions that you don't know the answer to. There are many other questions that you might have, like, is the Book of Mormon plagiarized? Did Joseph Smith actually have plates, or was he a Knights Templar? Was Smith Sr. a part of the New Israelites, Jewish mysticism? See, you guys, you won't do it to me. None of you do. You already know for yourself that you read, ponder, get a spiritual witness, you're done, and you reflect on it again and again. You never actually follow through to make it flesh, to do it in reality, because that's what he did. He read from James to pray, and he had a spiritual witness. Prayer, that's it. And then he prayed. He held to the iron rod and prayed. And as a result, he got to the tree of life and partook of the fruit. Even though it never happened. But the doctrinal principle is correct. These guys pull that stunt all the time. They quote a passage of Scripture, twist it around to tell their gospel narrative opinion that they want to share with you and command you to obey. So, will Nelson speak at this session? That is the question. He did not speak other than for the 2 minutes to introduce the conference. I'm very curious by this. So, I don't know, Mormons. This is the most complicated thing in the world, to use the word rather than the sword to convince you that Joseph Smith is a translator. And because he's a translator, these guys are frauds. Because these guys say, nope, he's not a translator, he's just a revelator. And that's what you Mormons are all upset with me about. I'm talking Mormonism, and Mormonism attacks me back. You will not listen to my videos. I get to see how long you actually listen. The women of the cougar generation above me, they're the ones that are listening the most. And if you guys refuse to believe, you're doing what Alma warns you against. You will never know I'm false. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean I'm false. Just because you've never heard these guys tell you this doesn't mean I'm false. Alma tells you exactly this process to know, scientifically know if I'm lying to you. Not a spiritual witness. Knowledge. You will be able to pinpoint the exact falsehood, not just a generalized falsehood that you throw in a few ad hominems with it. You will know exactly. This is what I'm warning you guys about them, because I point out exactly where they are false and fraudulent. They claim Joseph Smith is not a translator. I say yes, not from a spiritual witness. I went over great detail to show you that the script comes from different characters in Egyptian. Those characters have levels of translation meaning. The vocabulary is 2-letter words with a prefix determinative at the beginning and occasionally a suffix determinative to make clarifications, such as the difference between a king and a kingdom. That's great detail. That's from knowledge. That's not from spiritual witness. And it is that detail, by holding to the iron rod of Joseph being a translator, of which I had a spiritual witness as a kid, but had to wait until somebody would teach the class in biblical Hebrew. And it wasn't just any person. It almost seemed as if there is a God watching over me. Because I can't explain how I got him, of all people in the world, and how he taught the manner in which he taught, which then provided the seed that led me to make the decipherment 6 months later, not 6 years. That was something else that they pulled on me. And so I'm trying to save you, Mormons, because they're not. They want you dead. Have you not noticed there are no people in the audience? Why is that? Oh, yeah, the pandemic? But they say you have to go to church. You have to go to the temple. You have to go on your mission. Is that not confusing and contradictory? Because it tells me they don't care about you, they're only protecting themselves. So again, detail from knowledge, not a spiritual witness.